Live from our cryptid camper, I'm Shay, and I'm here with my good friend Tom. We'd like to thank you for joining us for Season 1, Episode 15 of Scare Your Pants Off, our American road trip. In today's episode, we're setting up camp in Colorado. How are you today, Tom?
I'm awesome. I'm really good. I 15. Wow. Episode 15. It's crazy to me. We are cranking through.
Yes.
So how
You
are
are
you?
a full-fledged teenager.
Yeah, that's true. I didn't even thought of it like that. We
I'm,
are up
I'm
there. Oh,
We're at that really annoying age of a teenager. It's the one all the parents are like, oh,
yeah. You're
but
just
it's
like,
fine.
oh,
We'll get through it. But it's good.
yes, exactly. So what's new with you?
Uh, so I feel like I haven't seen you in a year. I know it hasn't been that long, and I feel like just getting out of the holidays, finally, my head can stop spinning. I think everybody I know, almost everybody we know, I feel like has had COVID in the last month, and it's just change plans, change plans, change plans. But I feel like things are maybe getting normal. How are you doing?
Good. Same. I know. It has felt like forever since, and I know it really hasn't been that long, but it was, we hit the holidays and like you said with COVID, so we took a little break from, recording and it just, God, then all of a sudden it just seemed like it had been forever. Same here too. I just glad this is like the first weekend since, before Christmas that I feel like I can kind of breathe and, get back to some sort of normalcy because it's just been
Yeah.
crazy. Like you said, everybody, it's like at my work, I think in the first year of COVID, I don't think we had any cases in our building. If we did, maybe one, and now it's, anyway, on my shift, it's, anywhere from like 2 to 4 people a week. And on the other shift, it's anywhere like 5 to 10 a week right now, just getting it, this COVID. It's just working its way through. So it's kind of crazy. But I feel like we're coming out of it in a good spot too, like you were saying. So it's glad to be recording again too, because I love doing this. This was a lot of fun doing the research for these in Colorado, and yeah, it's gonna be good. You watch anything good recently?
Oh, so I rented Antlers,
Ooh,
and so this is one of those movies that I saw like a ad or a preview for whatever what feels like forever ago, and they didn't really talk about it much, but I knew it took place in Oregon, and I knew it had to do with something evil or demonic. Obviously, it's named Antlers. My mind, being my mind, is immediately going to go, it's a freaking Wendigo. It has to be, right?
mhm.
And it's done by Guillermo del Toro, who I absolutely love. And I was right, and it did not disappoint. I had chills. The kid that's in it is spine chillingly good. He is amazing, and it's just watch it. It's so great. It's totally worth it.
I can't wait. Now, what is that on? Like,
So I actually rented it just on demand, just on I have
okay,
Xfinity, so I rented it on demand. But I think you can get it on Prime if I'm not mistaken, and
ooh, Prime.
I
Okay,
think Vudu.
okay, cool. Yeah, definitely want to check that out. I can't wait. Always looking for good stuff like that. Now, have you seen Yellow Jackets?
Oh, that's such a good show. Oh my gosh, are you watching it? Are you current?
I watched the whole season. It was my new obsession for the past couple weeks there. I just loved it. So you like it?
I am so. First of all, I'm so mad that I have to wait now
I
a
know.
year or whatever because they ended it really abruptly, but like good abruptly. Because now I'm mad, but
Yeah,
I'm waiting and I'm angrily waiting. So that's the best way I guess you can wait for a show, is angrily waiting to find out what happens next. It means it got you.
Yeah, it was weird. It was abrupt, and it's kind of it's a bit maddening because you didn't get to see what like was happening. But it's also like, okay, they did hook me for the next. They got me coming back. You know,
Yeah.
they didn't. It wasn't so maddening that they lost me. It wasn't like, oh,
No.
okay, you know, where some shows have done
No.
that. It's like they do it, and then it's just like, oh, you lost me. Yeah,
Yeah.
you know, this it's yeah, that is what a good show. What it just anybody out there watching, listening, if do yourself favorites on Showtime, it's it is worth it. You sign up for the free month of Showtime and just binge it or whatever because it's great. That and then Peacemaker. Those are my two obsessions right now. Peacemaker, it's so funny. John Cena, never been a real big fan. Fantastic. So good.
I think we're only one episode into Peacemaker right now, and I like it. I like it. So please understand that what follows is not, it's not an insult. I like it. I think it's funny, but so much John Cena, so much.
Yes.
All of the John Cena is in. You can absolutely see him. He is not invisible. He is all over the place.
Oh
But
yeah.
it's yeah, it's shocking if you're not expecting it. So just expect to see all of the John Cena, and then it'll be fine. It's
Yeah.
you'll get through it.
That's a good point. It's yeah, it's hysterical. I'm not a huge superhero, like I'm a nerd and love comics and stuff, but I'm not a huge superhero film guy. But this one, the show, just fantastic. I can't say enough good things so far. So, and John Cena is excellent, and she is not wrong. You see all of John Cena pretty much.
All of the John Cena, all of it.
Yeah. Oh yeah, good stuff. Good stuff. Well, this week I have the cryptids, and this was fun because Colorado's got a lot of cool cryptids. You know, they got their Bigfoot because every state has their version of some sort of version of a Bigfoot. You got your Tommyknockers, which at some point I do want to have a more extended conversation just because I find Tommyknockers fascinating. They have trolls, they have vampires, they have yetis, they got it all. But I went with something that I had never heard of, and Shay, you may have or may not, but the reason I picked it is because I'd never heard you talk about it. So, have you heard of the slide rock bolter?
No, I'm intrigued, and I love when you come up with things that I've never heard of, and I'm excited. So tell me about it.
Nice, the slide rock bolter, and that's BOLTER, like bolt, like a lightning bolt, just for everybody out there. So, the first reported sightings of this creature were in the late 19th century and early 20th century. Said to live in the mountains of Colorado, this strange creature is a favorite among lumberjacks and tourists. It is said to be extremely large, like bigger than a whale, with an immense head, with small beady eyes, and a very, very large mouth. It has a tail that ends in a fluke like a dolphin. So picture a dolphin's tail. That's supposedly with their tail. And on that tail, where it splits, there are enormous grab hooks that it uses to climb and hold itself onto stuff. These hooks that can hook into mountains. As I said earlier, the creature is said to live in the mountains of Colorado. That said, the beast only lives on mountains with a slope of 45 degrees or steeper. It has to be at least 45 degrees or it's not living on it. And it's going to be a fairly big mountain too.
Yeah.
It's
that's wicked steep. Like if you think about it, that's like looking straight down almost.
Yeah, because this is straight up and down, that's 90.
Yeah.
You know, and then so that's real steep. And it's got to be big because this is a very large creature. The mountain's got to be big too. So, And the reason for this is because it uses the hooks on its tail to hold itself onto the mountain. So essentially, it takes its tail and flips it over the ridge or the top of the mountain and uses the hooks on its fluke-like tail to grab in and hold itself perched at the top of the mountain, looking down at you, and it just holds itself in place. And it may stay there for days or weeks on end, just waiting for its victims, or its next prey. It'll sit there. It sits there silently waiting. And then when the creature finally does lock onto its prey, it unhooks the tails and slides down the mountain, picking up more and more speed, because now, again, we're on a 45-degree angle or more, it's sliding down, picking up speed, similar to a toboggan, like if you pictured like a toboggan, kids sledding down a hill or something, gradually picking up speed. So it slides down, its mouth wide open. So when I think about this, now I'm thinking about like when I used to see as a kid on the animals or whatever, the whales just kind of swimming with their mouth open, just scooping up hundreds and hundreds of little minnows at the same time.
Yeah.
So with its mouth open, swallowing all that gets in its way. So it has swooped up whole parties of tourists in one gulp.
That is such a great image. That is, not to interrupt you, but
no, please
that's
do.
an awesome image. And I know we don't say it every episode. And I know, we say it in our pre-recorded outro, but if any of you listen and want to draw this and send it to us, I'll pop our email up onto the bottom of the screen. It's scareyourpantsoff9@gmail.com. Please send us your artwork. Tell us if we can share it. We'll put it on our Facebook page, and I would love to see anybody's version of what this thing looks like. I'm excited to see anything sent our way.
I agree, and I'm so glad you brought that up, because yes, please send it in, because that would be great. And this one does make for a really good image. And if anybody's curious, you're not so artistic, but you want to see what it's kind of people think it looks like, do a Google search too, because they have sort of renderings of what people claim it looks like or think that it might look like, and it's really cool. So it scoops it up, known to scoop up tourists, groups of tourists in one gulp. And with its body being so large, I mean, descriptions have the body being bigger than a whale and stuff like that. And coupled with the speed that it picks up sliding down, it takes out all trees and rocks and anything in its path as well with its body, because it's just so big. It just causes devastation when it slides down. So, and then, after it gets down, it scoops it, gets its prey and everything, it's still going at a pretty good speed. So it uses that momentum coupled with its grab hooks to get up the next slope to just do it all over again, so use that momentum to get it going part way up, and then it uses grab hooks to climb the rest of the way up the slope, where it puts its tail over the ridge of the mountain, hooks there, and will wait, again, days, weeks, who knows, hours, days, weeks, for its next prey, for its next meal. So in all of this forest ranger's infinite wisdom, he had decided that he was going to catch it. He's going to get it. He's going to kill it. So he sets up a dummy tourist. So the only way I can picture this is like essentially he sets up a scarecrow essentially, but dressed like a tourist, and he stuffs it with gunpowder, TNT, and fulminate caps, like you do. And he puts
obviously,
and he puts it in a place where the creature had been known to frequent and had been witnessed before. So he puts it where he knows it had been. And sure enough, the following day, the bolter locked onto the dummy and slid down the mountain and scooped up the dummy. But again, remember, this was full of, explosives. So the ensuing explosion that happened flattened half of the town of Rico, all the buildings, which have never been fixed because it was such extensive damage. Now, others claim it was an explosion from other things, maybe a mine or something else. But some people claim that the explosion was from the bolter and destroyed hundreds of acres of the surrounding forest. So not the greatest plan by this forest ranger.
No.
Essentially destroyed a town that's no longer there anymore. And that's essentially it, aside from in more recent times, descriptions have kind of morphed or altered a little bit, with it now being more of an enormous land fish rather than like a land whale, and has fins and a hooked fin and razor sharp teeth, and just oddly, for some reason, that now in more recent descriptions, it's vulnerable to leprosy.
Oh, okay.
So,
all right.
So yeah. And but other than that, it's pretty much the same. It still looks for its. Oh, and in more recent, it likes to it more than humans. It likes like wolves in more recent things. It goes after like wolves, spider wolves, overwolves, and stuff. And that is it. That is the Slide Rock Bolter.
That was okay. So many thoughts. So at first, when you first start talking about it, my visualization of it for some reason changed a little bit, not a lot. But when I first started picturing it, I was picturing it with legs for some reason, and then it was like standing upright, and then just holding on with its tail. But then the legs disappeared, so it morphed in my own head. So, but that is such a funny image. Can you even I'm just picturing this giant, and I love that you have a sea cryptid on land. That's the best of both worlds, and it's just this menacing thing. And obviously the lumberjacks love it because it's cutting down all the trees for them. But, that is, that's amazing, and I absolutely love it. And again, I hope we get fan art from this because it's too funny. And cherry on the top is it's vulnerable to leprosy, which I don't know who found that out or why. Did you know that armadillos can carry leprosy?
No, I did not know that.
Random, but yeah.
That's so weird. Like these the Achilles heels of these creatures, leprosy. It's like
that's how you kill it. Can you imagine finding the the remnants? I don't know. I don't really know how to say that. I started and I didn't know where to go. But yeah, I don't know. That's so bad. I love it. That was great job. Great choice.
Oh, I'm glad you liked it. Yeah, once like I said, I had even started my notes. I was doing Tommy knockers, and I stumbled across it, and I said, I gotta do this. And like I said, if you do a Google search, everybody, there's some pictures of what, some descriptions, and it is quite hysterical and not like any other cryptid I know of. So it was, that was fun. That was fun.
Well, I love it. It's such a good job. Yeah. All right. So I have the haunting today, and we're in Colorado. So obviously, I'm going to talk about a famous haunted hotel.
All right.
Right? Do you know where I'm going?
I think I do.
All right. Well, if you think I'm going to the Stanley Hotel, you are wrong.
Oh, okay. Then I'm wrong.
Right? Mind blown.
Yep.
Uh, so I was gonna do the Stanley Hotel because I'm a horror fan. I'm a Stephen King fan. The Stanley Hotel has such a cool history and everything like that. But um, I kind of found a new hotel that might be my new obsession in Colorado right now, at
Oh,
least.
wow. This is big.
Yeah, it is. It's very big. It's taking the place. Maybe not taking the place, but it's sharing the space. Uh, it's called Hotel Colorado. And I will forewarn you that I will absolutely say Colorado at least once or twice, because while saying this, I am hearing Hotel California in my head, and that's how my brain works.
Nice.
So the Hotel Colorado is in Glenwood Springs, Colorado. Fun fact, Glenwood Springs actually used to be named Defiance, but it was actually changed by the founder, whose wife was struggling to adjust to frontier life, and he thought that that would help her.
Oh,
And that's really sweet.
that is sweet.
So Hotel Colorado was built in 1893 by Walter Devereux, and in 1943 it was commissioned to be a naval hospital until it was decommissioned after the war was over. In its time serving as a naval hospital during World War II, it actually saw more than 6,500 patients.
Wow.
Now,
Wow.
yeah.
Wow.
And being obviously a military hospital, you know how catastrophic some of those injuries and things had to be, and it really kind of starts off that feel of like where some of the energy is coming from.
Yeah. Wow. Jeez.
Now, there's a pretty obscure naval law that says that anywhere that sailors are stationed, including hospitals apparently, have to be equipped with a brig.
I did not know that. That's actually I guess it makes sense, but I didn't know that. That's,
Yeah. Yeah, I had the same thought, honestly. I'm like, oh, okay, that makes sense, but wow, it never would have dawned on me. So this led the Hotel Colorado to, in its billiards room, build 8 prison cells that were 5 feet by 7 feet. In the hotel's basement now, there are said to be 2 gigantic ovens that were supposedly used as crematoriums at this time. I don't know what else they would have been used for, but so adds a little bit to the eeriness.
Yeah, for sure.
Now, before the hotel opened, there's a little history that I want to touch on, just to kind of give everybody a little bit of a background as to why it's thought that some of the occurrences are happening. In 1880, the Ute Indians actually owned and were displaced from this land where the hotel stands, and it's said that in this process that they had put a curse on it. I don't know if that's true, but it kind of adds to that eerie feel that the hotel has. Now, there are some of your standard occurrences, drinks spilling over, pitchers going crooked. Toilets flushing, however, is not one I hear very often, and that's something that happens.
Oh, that's a new one for me too.
Right? Very courteous ghosts, I guess. So, and then chandeliers sway and spin, which is pretty common to hear of light fixtures swaying or spinning or whatever. But if you think of like a grand chandelier that might be in a hotel like this, that's intimidating. Those things can do a lot of damage if they fall, or it's scary.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, those like those chandeliers are deceptively large and heavy. You don't realize how big they are when they're up, but I put a couple up. They can be hundreds and hundreds of pounds, and they're much bigger than they look in a lot of these houses. Because whether it's a high ceiling or whatever, and yeah, that's for sure. For sure.
Now, I'm going to get into the more, I burped. I apologize. I'll
Oh,
have
that's
to
okay.
edit
I've
that
been
out.
burping all episode. Yep, I'm burping.
It came out as I was talking, so I didn't even know it was happening. Okay. Now I'm going to get into some of the more vivid claims. There was a houseman who saw an old woman looking into the window he was in. It said that she had her hands up to her eyes, like she was peeking in. But this window had a very deep window well that to see into the window you would need a ladder. So he wanted to investigate, so he turned on the light, and when he turned back around to look at the window, she was gone. He got a little panicked, assuming that the older lady possibly fell off the ladder and might be hurt. So when he looked out, though, there was nobody. So it's kind of creepy.
That's very creepy. That's very creepy.
Now, another one, and I love this one, and I have two more, but this one might actually be my favorite. There's a World War II nurse named Bobby who is thought to have served at that location during the war. It said that she was possibly killed by an officer who she had a previous relationship with because he found out about a new relationship. So she was killed over jealousy, possibly. I know it's sad, but it leads to a very, very unique and fun, not a fun haunting, but a very interesting haunting. So as sad as that is, we'll move forward a little. The officer who supposedly killed her was said to be shipped out to actually cover up his crime. So it's not ever said that he was held accountable or anything like that. Now, Bobby is spotted in a lot of the main function areas of the hotel, like the dining area, the ballroom, all that stuff. So she's spotted fairly frequently wherever guests congregate. And it said that guests can smell her floral perfume, specifically that it smells like gardenias, which is kind of neat. I really kind of think that adds to it.
That definitely does, and that's interesting. And I think we may have touched on it once before, but I find smells fascinating within haunts and stuff because it adds just another layer, almost a layer of credibility to it. Because this, you're getting a smell, and then smells are very powerful, So it's like it can take you to a place or a time in your past and stuff by smelling something. So I always love when there's smells involved in haunts. It makes it really cool.
Now, like I said, she's seen in some of those more populated areas in the hotel, but she's seen very frequently in room 661. I don't know if that's where she was killed, where she was found, or anything like that. There's nothing to really kind of say why, but she's seen by many guests standing over their bed in a floral dress.
Cool.
My favorite sighting of her happens in this room too, though, and it's extremely vivid and very descriptive. Again, I am getting goosebumps thinking about this. I love it. So a man and his wife were on vacation in Hotel Colorado, and the man had fallen ill. The wife opened up one of the windows and in thinking that the fresh air would help him, maybe feel a little better or whatnot. And she left the room, be it to get him a drink or some food or whatnot. As soon as she left the room, though, a woman came in, closed the windows, and told him that if he wanted to get better, he needed to stay out of the draft. And then she disappeared.
Ooh.
Right? The wife came back in, and actually the windows were closed, and she had to actually reopen them. I wouldn't have reopened them because, but that's just me. But yeah, how neat is that? Like she's still being a nurse. She's still taking care of people.
I love it. I love that.
Now, last but certainly not least, there's one more ghost, and the staff of the hotel actually have decided to call him Walter because they think it might be Walter Devereaux. And his presence is marked by the smell of cigar smoke, which is extremely noticeable because the hotel itself is smoke-free and has been really for some time. So it's not something that they would typically be smelling in the hotel. which is great.
Yeah, that's again another smell. I love it.
Yeah,
I love it.
but that's all I got for the hotel. What'd you think?
I love it. I love it. I was not familiar with it. I can see why you like it. Definitely, I can see why you picked it for sure. Now, this is something, and I think it might have even kind of come up in that show Ghosts and stuff. And I'm curious on your take on this. Okay, so ghosts, are ghosts. Could walk through walls and stuff like that. And how do okay, this will be maybe a 2 or 3 part question. First of all,
Okay.
if they can walk through walls, how do they manipulate windows? Stuff like that. And then how if they can walk through walls and stuff like that, how can they walk on a floor? Why are their feet not going through the floor of the house? Yeah, you know what I mean? And what are your
So
thoughts on that and on why maybe?
just from my own perspective, I actually uh, don't believe they actually walk through walls. I believe that is something that's commonly depicted in shows and in cartoons and stuff like that. But I don't think they're necessarily actually walking through walls.
Okay.
Just like if you were to blow a fan at a wall and you stand on the other side of the wall, you're not going to feel the fan.
Yeah.
So you're not going to feel that energy, that air, that anything like that. I think they can manifest in one room and then remanifest in another room.
Okay.
But it's not. I don't think it's actually that they're like going through a wall. And then so as far as the walking on the floor thing, it's pretty commonly described that when you see an entity, when you see a ghost, when you see a spirit or what have you, that there are a lot of times no feet.
Okay.
Which is funny because then at other times, other claims that you hear footsteps and stuff like that. But more often than not, those are never happening together. You can, if you look back in like different investigations and recordings and stuff like that, you can hear one or see the other, but they usually don't exist at the same exact time. You can hear the footsteps and see the ghost, but they're not timed at the same time. They're not, so a lot of times a sound like footsteps will be residual. It will be just a separate energy, really. And as far as manipulating the windows, it takes an energy. So if you think about it, it's going to sound kind of stupid, but if I were to take a piece of paper, and it's not going to work too well when I do it, and I'm going to rush my hand towards it, I didn't touch it, but you see the paper. It's an energy that would move it. It's not it's not that they're taking it and deciding, but it takes an energy, obviously, to move anything. So however they're manifesting that energy is how they're moving it. So it's not that they're necessarily grabbing it. It's that the energy they're creating around it is giving it the tension to move it.
Well, I buy all of that. that all makes 100% sense to me, honestly. The way you said, like, appearing in one room and then in the net, that makes sense. It all makes sense. So it's honestly the whole like why it through the floor or whatever. I think that was mentioned in that show Ghosts or something. They've kind of made like a joke about it or something, and it's like I never thought about that. And but everything you said, yeah, that makes 100% sense to me. And the energy, yep, it's yeah. No,
glad I could help.
that definitely makes sense. But yeah, I love that. That was what a good choice. What a good choice. I was not familiar with it. I really did think you were going Stanley, which I would have been fine with because everybody loves Stanley. So, but yeah, good choice and good for the listeners.
Yep. I had planned to do the Stanley. Like that was like I set out to research and investigate the Stanley, and I honestly I found it by accident. I'm like, oh, what's this? And singing in my head, obviously at first, and I just fell in love with it. It's such a cool story, and it's not one that I've ever heard before. Like I've heard other podcasts and other shows talk about the Stanley, but I've never heard of this one, and it just So I wanted to give it its time in the spotlight.
It's awesome. Love it. Good choice. All right. So this week I have the Strange Encounters of Colorado. Fairly active state. A lot of good stuff, but a lot of them, especially the more recent ones, it's just like, oh, we saw some lights in the sky, whatever, and which are cool, but there's not a lot to the story.
Yeah.
So I did, and I picked. Have you ever heard of the story of Snippy the horse?
No, but it sounds adorable. But no, go ahead.
All right, cool. So on September 7th, 1967, near the town of Alamosa in the San Luis Valley in Colorado. And the San Luis Valley is a very, very, very active area for strange encounters with aliens, UFOs, and cryptids, not just like the aliens and UFOs. It's a very, very active area, the San Luis Valley. And anyway, there was this 3-year-old Appaloosa horse named Snippy that failed to return home to the Harry King Ranch. So 2 days after he had been still missing, Mr. King, the owner of the ranch, but actually did not own the horse. He only stabled the horse. I guess that's common. I don't know a ton about horses, but a lot of ranches, they'll stable horses for other people that just don't have the property, the money, whatever, to have a stable. So 2 days later, he sets out to look for him, and about a quarter mile from the ranch house, he discovered the remains of Snippy. According to his account, the neck and head had been completely stripped of flesh and muscle. All that was left was the sun-bleached white bones of the head and neck, while the rest of the body was unscathed and untouched. So he left it, went home, and then returned the following day with the horse's owner. And they were determined to unravel the mystery of what happened to the beloved Snippy. But when they get there, more questions arose. First, there was no blood to be found on or near the body, and the flesh appeared to have been removed neatly and with precision. Excuse me, sorry.
Mm-hmm.
And then around the carcass, there were a number of darkened patches on the ground, said to resemble scorch marks or exhaust marks. And roughly 100 yards away from there was a shrub that normally would have been about 3 to 4 feet tall, squished completely flat to the ground. And then nearby that, there was a series of 6 small indentations in the ground that were arranged in a circle. So there was that. And then one account also reported that after they had touched the hide of the horse, that their hand became extremely itchy to the point where it itched for days. They could not stop their hand from itching after touching the hide. And there was said to be a sickly, sweet smell that hung in the air near the carcass. And some later reports, and I don't know how accurate this is. I don't even know if they had a Geiger counter, but some had reported that there was traces of radiation near the body, but there's no conclusive evidence to this, but some people reported that there was radiation near the body. Now, we know, like I said earlier, Colorado is a hotbed of supposed UFO activity, and especially in this area. So many people from Colorado and in this area have no doubt that this is the work of extraterrestrials. But others balk at this, claiming that the death was the work of humans, or that Snippy probably just died of natural causes. And then, but people are like, well, the missing skin, this, that, how could it be natural? And the people and some scientists have claimed that the missing skin and muscle was the result of scavengers like vultures and even possibly ants. I don't know how much I buy it, because it was supposedly done with precision by the earlier account. I don't see ants and vultures being very precise in the way that they're, take stuff away, but I could be wrong. I'm not a scientist. But they also claim that the reason that there was no blood was because it had dried, and that those discolorations in the ground, like what they described as possibly scorch marks, was actually dried pool of blood. Again, don't know how accurate, just this is what some people claim. And also a local vet claimed he examined the remains of Snippy a few weeks afterwards, and that Snippy actually had died from an infection that was caused by being shot. He claims, and there's not 100% proof of this, he claims that he had found 2 small caliber bullets in the horse's flank. But again, it's never been 100% verified. So this is essentially the story of Snippy. What do you think?
So, okay, I have a lot, and I have to unpack it. Okay, so let me I want to reiterate that I have these facts correct. So first of all, Snippy went missing, and it was essentially the next day or the same day, that evening or whatever, that he was found, correct?
2 days later.
2 days later.
Yep.
Now, I don't know, again, I'm not a scientist either, but I feel like scavengers and ants can't, in 2 days, completely undo an entire horse's head and neck, and then also have time for it to be sun bleached.
Yeah, good point.
Okay, so a couple other things that I just want to make sure that I'm getting right. So you said there were scorch marks or burn marks.
That's according to the account. Yes.
Radiation.
Some accounts. Yep.
Supposedly, a sweet smell and no blood. Correct.
Yes. A sickly sweet smell. So
a sickly sweet smell.
Yeah.
Okay. So, and I know I make this leap, and I almost hate to make this leap, but between the radiation, the lack of blood, the clean, precise, it's okay. I'm gonna say it. It feels Wendigo, and I know I talked about them earlier, but so one lore about a Wendigo that people don't often hear about it, because it's not as often, but it's that a Wendigo's urine, sweat, and feces all are thought to have a sweet smell to it, like an obscenely sweet smell to it. Yes, so it's thought that because supposedly, again, in some lores, that a Wendigo's preferred food is what would be called a sweet meat, which are children and babies.
Oh, okay.
And younger, yeah. So obviously, this horse wasn't necessarily young, but it doesn't mean whatever it ate prior wasn't. And then you have the 6 indents around it?
Yeah.
So they're thought to have almost a talon in the backs of their legs and on a lot of the lower backs of their feet. Sorry. That would make sense if they were almost kind of circling it. And then you add the burn marks, and obviously Wendigos have that that scorched flesh and the burning
Mm-hmm.
that would leave burn marks. There would be no blood because there's never any blood when it's a Wendigo attack because they drink it or what have you. And then yeah, just the all around precision and just depth of it really. I mean, I don't feel like it's UFO because I feel like if it was UFO or alien related, I'd almost feel like it would be not just the head.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm with you on this, and I think I go with you on all of them, but of your Wendigo ones, I think this is probably the strongest case of it being like me saying one thing and then you bring in the Wendigo thing. I would, because there's stuff I didn't know, like the talons, the sweet meat, you know what I mean, the sweet smell. I mean, that's a lot of similarities right there. And that's what did bother me about that whole alien thing was they left they just took like the skin and muscle. Why would an alien be interested in just the skin and muscle of a horse and not the brain? You know what I mean? Leave the brain and leave all these other organs. And that that's what did bother me a little about the whole alien, aspect to it, because it seemed weird, and like to our knowledge, or like what we like to think of aliens, they're not like humans where they're just going out and killing something to kill it or something. You know what I mean? They're doing it for studies or whatever. So I love it. I can totally go with you on this Wendigo thing because there's just so many, like you said, there's just so many these lesser known things that I didn't know. But yeah. Now my question for that, now, would normally though a Wendigo consume the whole thing?
So I get what you're saying. And yes, absolutely in most cases. So that's why I was saying this time, if you really think about it, like it wasn't killed for food. Why would you just take that's not the part you're going to eat. That's not the part anything's going to eat. They're going to eat the flesh of the body, the legs, well, not the legs, but the thighs and whatnot. So when you talk about, and again, I might be going far-fetched, so stop me if you'd like. But the indents going, you said, around it, almost felt offensive.
Oh,
as maybe it had to stop it from something, or it was getting in its way, or it was being attacked, or it was or whatnot. And it's because when a Wendigo does attack, they don't typically leave that much left, but what they do leave is left with precision, and it's left with like near surgical precision. In a lot of lore and a lot of claims, it's left with surgical precision, if there's anything left at all. It would typically eat, like if it were going to attack a livestock or something like that, there really wouldn't be much of anything left, but what is left, it's clean. So I feel like just the what is possibly, again, like we said, that the talons surrounding it really genuinely feels almost like a struggle or something like that. Because I can't think of a reason other than that it would have wanted to kill something like that, because it doesn't typically go after horses. It's not, and I know a lot of times it's said that a Wendigo will disguise itself in other ways. And it's obviously a Wendigo is a cursed human that eventually forms into this demonic, evil-looking creature. But it's, in some lores, it is said to, disguise itself in other ways. Maybe, I mean, a mask. I can't, obviously, that's like super out there, but it's.
Well, it was funny. Right after I got the question too, I was thinking of that. Like, was he taking the skin for whatever himself, something like that? So that my mind immediately went there, and that makes 100%. I was just questioning because you are the Wendigo expert. I love them, but I don't know as much as you do. but I'm buying it, and I like it. I like the Wendigo a lot better than an Alien. It makes more sense to me. It feels more complete. You know, the story.
Yeah.
It ties together better, because I had issues with the Alien aspect to it, but I can definitely go with the Wendigo. Very cool. I love it, and maybe 2 cryptids this episode. So
I love it.
yeah, no, I can totally buy it. Like I said, I think that was your strongest case for, and the other ones were strong, but I think because of all the similarities, this was the strongest case for it actually being a Wendigo. I can buy
the sweet smell put me over the edge. The sweet smell, absolutely, because that's not something that is a common thing talked about in supposed Wendigo encounters, and it's definitely 2 cryptids, this one, and I love it because obviously Wendigo is one of my favorites, so it works.
Love it. Great.
All right, you got anything else for me today?
That is it.
All right, folks, thank you for joining us. Tune in next time when we set up camp in Florida. Until then, happy camping.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.